And we will get started. So just a little bit of housekeeping to begin with. Please go ahead and keep yourself on mute so that we can cut down on as much background noise as possible and be able to, everybody be able to hear what Marika has to say clearly. So thank you for joining us for our year-end webinar. We're going to be going over a lot of the points that were sent out in the year-end newsletter. So if you have been receiving emails from us reminding you of different points on your, yes, thank you, Marika, reminding you of different points to be paying attention to and getting ready for end of this year, end of fourth quarter, beginning of next year. Every single one of those emails has a link at the bottom of the page to the year-end checklist and the year-end newsletter. So it should always be accessible for you. And if not, please go ahead and reach out to us. We're happy to send that out again. It isn't terribly long, but there is a lot of important information in there just to help you be thinking through all of the different items that are unique to this time of year and your payroll and your business. So today we had a lot of fun with our gifts, Marika and I, but Marika will be doing the majority of the talking. If you do have questions, please submit them through chat. I'll keep an eye on those and make sure that I voice your questions and that we address them. We're going to try to keep this webinar to 45 minutes, but if we have a lot of questions, we can happy to stick around and answer those for you. If you have really, really specific to you questions, we're happy to set up an additional call with you just to go through those. And in fact, we sent out a survey yesterday, and it's kind of a customer service review. It shouldn't take you longer than 3 minutes to fill it out, and it'll really help us to understand if we're providing the information and the service that you need to be successful. But at the end of that, the last question is just kind of another checklist of year-end items. And if there's anything that you have questions about, 2% shareholder, third-party sick, any bonus payrolls, and you're wondering if what you need to do to be prepared for those. If you check any of those boxes, then we'll get in touch with you. So you don't even have to call us, we'll call you. I don't know if I missed anything there, but also after this webinar, this recording will be sent out, and these are quick links to a printable year-end newsletter, a printable year-end checklist. For those of you who do not have the HIFWA, the Colorado Required Sick Paid accrual set up for your company yet, because if you were under 15 or fewer employees, you didn't have to have that available to your employees in 2021, but starting in 2022, that is a requirement to be in compliance in the state of Colorado. If you don't have that set up yet, you can click the link on this slide and it will pull up the form, and you can fill that out and send it to us, and we can get that set up for you so you're ready to go for January 1st. Also, if you are going to be processing any bonus or extra payrolls before year end, there's a form, you can get that sent to us. As soon as you know when you want that payroll to be or when you're going to need to have an additional check date in November, December, go ahead and fill that form out and get it to us so that we can have that all set up and ready for you. If you have any questions about that, anyone on the team is happy to help. Again, you can fill out the survey and we'll get in touch with you, or you can give us a call and we're happy to answer your questions. And the final thing that I really want to talk about on this screen is the form for filing 1099s. If you need auto paychecks to create and do your year-end filing for your 1099 non-employees, please let us know soon. I think the deadline for that is November 11th, but we'll get into that a little bit later. We need, so those 1099s have to be printed on very specific, like government issued forms. And if you don't tell us that you're going to need them, then we don't know to order enough. So as soon as you know that we need to print those for you, please let us know so that we can be prepared. When we run out of the forms at the end of the year, we're out, and we'll be able to send you to other options, but we won't be able to print them. Just so everybody knows. Does anybody have any questions about anything so far. If you do, Marika typed into chat, and you can pull up your own little chat bar and send those questions out to us. And we'll pause regularly and make sure that we are answering your questions. And we're going to go over a lot of dates later. And yeah, just don't hesitate to stop us or interrupt us, and we're happy to address anything that you need to talk about. Okay. I don't see any questions coming in, so I will turn it over to Marika.
Okay. So we're going to just start right off with electronic delivery of tax forms. So some of you have been with us for a few years or longer than that. There was a new development with the IRS. They decided that it was okay to allow electronic tax forms. So thinking electronic W-2s, 1095s, 1099s. And so in order to comply with that, we have a little form. It is in your year-end newsletter. You can also email us at info@autopaychecks.com, and we can get that over to you if you want it. Basically, that form says, please allow my employees to make the choice on whether or not they would like an electronic form or a paper form. So if you decide to do that, you give consent for your company to do that, and then your employees get to choose. So keep that in mind, that if you do this, it doesn't mean every single employee is going to get an electronic form. They still have to consent on their side. So you could potentially have a mix of it. You could have some paper and some electronic. If you've already done this, you do not need to do it again. Like, we don't have to do it, but if you're unsure, just fill out the form, send it in, and we'll make sure that it's turned on for your company. Employees do not have to accept every year either. It's just but they can take it away. They can decide that they don't want it. And within there, they would need to speak with you, the owner, the administrator in the company, send a letter per electronic consent. You just have to say, I would like to withdraw my consent on this date, blah, blah, blah. And then we can walk you through how to change that in the system as an administrator. It's actually not something that the employee can withdraw through their own self-service. It's something you have to do as an administrator. So it's on the general screen for those of you who are thinking that through and visually seeing that in your brain like I am. But just let us know if you have questions. Again, you can email info or give us a call. And then for those people, so and some of you experienced this last year where you had some electronic and some paper, remember, we will always make sure that we deliver your W-2s to you. So either you're picking them up because you're local and that's what you always do, or we're FedExing them out to your office. We're going to send all the paper forms to you by the 20th. So they'll all be out. We hit the ground running in January. We start printing. So all those forms will be to you by the 20th of January so that you can then distribute those to your employees by the 31st. With that, electronic forms will be available to those people who have consented for electronic tax forms on that same date. So on that 20th, they will also be able to see that if they've elected electronic forms. If they've only elected paper form, they'll have a paper one that you'll have in your hands on that date to give to the employee. Okay. Any questions? Anything I missed that I need to go over, Manon?
Yeah, I just want to point out that your employees do need to have access to their employee self-service if you want to offer this option for them. And I didn't bring this up earlier, and I should have, but this is today just kind of like an overview talking about all of the major points and starting to get you to think about what applies to you and what doesn't. For the rest of the year on our every other Thursday webinars, we will actually go into greater detail on training. So this will be one of the items that we'll train about. If you are interested in knowing more and more management options of the electronic delivery, we're going to dive really deep into that. So you'll know what screens you need to go to, how you can turn it on and off for terminated employees, and just what the form looks like and how to fill it out. So be watching your email for those webinar topics as well. And when you find one that applies to you, go ahead and join us, and we'll really dive into this training. Of course, if you don't have the option and you don't want to wait until when that training is scheduled, you can always contact us earlier, and we're happy to provide that individual training as well.
And this is another point to point out, you kind of touched on it. Terminated employees, if they elected electronic consent beginning of the year and then they're terminated, they left employment, you've terminated them in some way, they are automatically opted out. So you need to either allow terminated access to employees through their employee self-service. You may already have that, you may not. And they'll need to redo that if they want it, or they'll get a paper form. And just remember that's something, again, we'll go into detail on that. Terminated employee, something to remember, just put it up there in your brain. Make sure you have an accurate address, because those addresses that are in the system are what is printed on the W-2 form. Okay. All right. So minimum wage changes every year, these happen, right? So we do not have exact numbers at this point. They have not been. We have proposed numbers by the states, at least by Colorado. Federal minimum wage is stuck there at $7.25. If it changes, we'll let you know. Minimum wage, the proposed increase is to $12.56 for non-tipped employees, $9.54 for tipped, and there is still that $3.02 tip credit for those tipped employees. So again, those are proposed increases. Once those are solidified, you'll know. And we'll go in, if you have other states, if you're in other states, of course, we focus on Colorado because that's where a lot of you are. Most of you have something in Colorado. If you have other states, we do have, when you get this PowerPoint that Manon is going to be delivering after this webinar, that link there will be clickable. And you'll be able to see state-specific items. We will definitely be going over how can you make updates to minimum wage for your employees. It is something that is your responsibility to do. So between the end of the year and between the last payroll of your 2021 year and the first payroll of your 2022 year, you will want to make these updates for those employees to make sure they meet those minimum wage bases. And we'll go through, but just as a quick reminder, it is on that salary screen. You can see that file path there under employee management, employee pay, and salary. And just remember, add new. You never, I should just be Marika, add new Prinster, because you just please add new. You want to see it. You can see that beautiful list of historical information there, and you'll be able to actually report on it. You'll be able to very easily see how an employee has transitioned throughout their employment. So when in doubt, add new. And we'll go into more detail, like I said, of how you can go through, how you can see how employees, what are they making, who needs to be updated. And then there's also, some of you are going to be spanning your pay period with a week, just for ease of explanation, a week in 2021 and a week in 2022. So you may decide that every hours that are worked in 2021 are paid at the old minimum wage. The hours worked in 2022 will be paid at the new. That's an option. Some of you are going to choose to pay that entire pay period at the new minimum 2022 wage. That is going to be up to you. We're going to talk about that a little bit more too as we go into constructive receipt here in a little bit. So just be thinking about that, that it really matters the pay date, not when the time was worked truly, but you get to make that decision. And there's some pretty cool features in our system to help you do that.
Yeah, and that's, again, one of those things that we will go into greater detail in one of our training. And I forget the actual, the exact name of it, but you can split a pay period, what the hourly rate is for each. Thank you, prorated pay. So each employee can have one hourly wage for these days and another hourly wage for the other days. And it's a pretty easy really cool and neat service and neat feature that you can start using. But we'll go into what that looks like and how you use that again later. I don't see any questions, so we'll keep moving along.
Okay. Changing wage bases, again, something that happens every single January. Social Security wage base for 2022. Is 147,000. I think it was 142,500 last year. So it is going up. That means that the Social Security tax will be taxed on the wages all the way up until that point, and then stop. FUTA at this point, we see it's still at 7,000. Again, if that changes, we'll let you know. Colorado SUI, it's anticipated to be 17,000. That's what we thought last year as well, as it going into 2022. Again, it's not set in stone, but I believe that is where it's going to hit. Again, that means on all wages up until that amount, you will have an employer tax. FUTA and Colorado SUI or other state SUIs, those are your employer costs, okay? And then Social Security, both employees and employers pay into that. And again, there will be state-specific information and clickable link once you get this webinar in your email box.
And I do want to point out that this is just informational for you at this point. We make all of these updates in the system for you, so you don't have to change anything on your payroll. Just know that that they're going to be taking place and they will affect payroll. And don't worry about it. We're keeping you in compliance and we're keeping all of these thresholds up to date for you.
And that's because these are taxes, and we are your tax reporting agent. These are very important to those things. Minimum wage and thing, that's on you, but these things that affect taxes, that affect IRS guidelines, things like that, we'll make sure we're always up to date on that for you. Okay. Let's see, benefit limitation. So just kind of like that same thing we're talking about, but these are related to HSAs, FSAs. Those amounts that can be contributed to those ones are going up. They always go up a little bit every year. You can see those on your screen. We've got a single 3650 and a family 7,300 for an HSA contribution. FSA contributions, we have an FSA dependent care. But I will always remember, just make sure if you're like unsure, you don't know if you have these, check with your health insurance, check with your financial providers, double check how your plans work and run to make sure that it is where you need. And there are catch-up when we think of 401k, 401(b), 457, as we go into retirement items, there are limitations for you as an employee until you hit the age of 50, and then there is catch-up contributions as well. So those catch-up contributions are above these numbers on the screen for those who are above the age of 50. So those are just the basic ones. Of course, there are more types of retirement plans, but we're just kind of showing you the most common. So these may apply to you, and they may you may have another one that has a very similar limit or a specific limit, depending on. We're just going to show you the most important ones, like those 401A or 401k, 403B, 457B. These are the ones we see with you. Simple IRA, those type of deferral limits that employees can contribute to.
Yeah, and again, the system is really smart, so it's going to be able to watch these limits for you and help you identify when you're going over. And also on the catch-ups, the system is really smart. So if you have an employee's birth date in the system, which for the majority of you or anybody who you've hired since you've been with us, we have those birth dates in there. And so it's going to be able to calculate the employee's age and know when they're eligible for those catch-up contributions and those higher limits. There's also a really neat audit tool in the system now that you can quickly evaluate whose birth date is missing. And that's something that we'll show you later too. I know we showed it earlier this year, but we'll definitely make sure we touch on that again, just where you can go and do a really quick look at whose birth date is in the system and whose isn't. And I'm still not seeing any questions. If you have any, please don't hesitate to throw them in chat.
All right, holiday schedule. It is that time of year, isn't it? Kind of when we hit Halloween, I get excited. I love the holiday season. So here's some notes for you guys so you know where we are, when we're open, how we're going to be able to assist you. Coming up, our next big one is Thanksgiving. So we will, that Wednesday prior to Thanksgiving, so that's on November 24th, our offices are going to close at noon. And that week, you just be aware that your payroll processing schedule is probably changing. You're probably going to have to process a day earlier because Thursday is not a bank holiday, or is a bank holiday. So the bank is not moving money. So you're going to have to process on Monday for those of you on that biweekly schedule, and some of you on semi-monthly, weekly schedules. So just be aware, make sure you take a look at that now about your schedule, or be thinking about that. And then we are here the day after Thanksgiving, okay? And then, of course, Thanksgiving Day, we're not in the office. And then we head into Christmas. So Christmas and New Year's are on Saturdays. So those are not recognized as bank holidays because it's on a Saturday. So just know that a lot of you probably don't have a processing schedule change. So it's kind of neat this year. Usually it messes us up with it, right? But just so you know, we are going to be closed all day on Christmas Eve. We're going to go spend that with our families. So we're going to take that day off. And then on Saturday, of course, we're closed because it's Saturday. Please enjoy your holiday. And then New Year's Eve, our offices are going to close at noon. Remember, that is the last day of the year. We're going to talk about that some more. And the last day of the year is not when you should be contacting us with, oh, I need these changes. We will certainly help you as best we can, but we are very limited on the last day of the year to be able to do things. So that's part of why we're having this webinar, and we're going to talk about some dates and the things we want you to start thinking about now, so you are not calling us frantically at 11:55 a.m. on Friday, December 31st, needing something. Okay, we really want you to be prepared for and be successful. So, so we're telling you now, we're closing at noon on that day. And then of course, Saturday, New Year's Day, we're closed. Banks are closed. Well, it's not a bank holiday. Sorry, our office is just closed because it is a Saturday. And then going into January, we'll look at that. Monday, Martin Luther King Day is a bank holiday. Might affect your schedule, might not. We will be open.
Yeah, and again, I just want to say, whether or not you are closed or you observe any of these holidays, they are federal banking holidays. So that means the Federal Reserve is not able to move money. And that is why your ACH schedule is extended. So the day that you have to process payroll is earlier, is a day earlier, because we lose an entire 24 hours of when the banks are actually moving money. So if you have questions about that, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Okay,
Right, here's that
constructive
exciting
receipt.
topic.
So excited. I might have dreamed about this last night because I'm that weird person, right? That's what we do here. So constructive receipt. So this is, we're looking at how does the IRS describe constructive receipt? So I'm going to try and explain this. We'll use this little definition here, and then we'll kind of go through some examples. This is, you have constructive receipt of income when an amount is credited to your account or made available to you without restriction. So you don't have to actually be in possession of that, but it has to be available to you. So what does this mean? This means that your check date, so let's say your check date today is the 4th, so your check date's tomorrow. That means that is the day that the constructive receipt is made available to your employees. That is the day the IRS cares about. It doesn't necessarily care about when the time was worked. So we look at your pay period. So it kind of goes back to my original example earlier was, for those of you who are spanning the end of the year into the new year in a pay period. You might have, and again, for ease of this example, I'm using weeks. 1 week is in 2022 or 2021, 1 week is in 2022. You may only have 1 day in 2021 or 1 day in 2022, but just stay with me here. That week, because your pay period, I'm going off of a biweekly pay period, even though there's time worked in 2021, all of that time is paid in 2022. That's what matters, the pay date. So let's go into our minimum wage conversation we had a little bit earlier. There, you will have a choice as an owner, as an administrator here. How are you going to apply minimum wage? If your pay period is spanning year end, what are you going to do? Are you going to apply the new minimum wage to all those hours in that pay period because it is paid in 2022 and will be on the 2022 W-2? Or are you going to split that and have the hours worked in 2021 paid at the old minimum wage, or that 2021 minimum wage, and the hours worked in 2022 paid at the new minimum wage? You need to make that decision. That's not a decision we do. We cannot automatically, we don't just make that happen for you. You get to decide. And with that, of course, we do have that really cool tool now, that prorated pay. So it's just a really simple thing we can turn on for you if that's what you would like. And then it goes off of the date of that salary increase. And it can actually look at those hours. If you're using iSolve Time, it's going to be able to do that automatically for you once we turn this on. If you're not using iSolve Time, we either have to adjust your import a little bit if you're importing time, or if you're just typing information into the time entry grid, we can work with you on how you would type that in order to make this the wage work if you're going to be splitting that time. So hopefully that makes sense. Sometimes this one is the hard one. They keep saying, but it was worked in 2021. It doesn't matter. The state, the government doesn't care when it's worked, it cares when it's paid. And that's how W-2s are done. That's how everything is classified in the year, is the day that it becomes available to you. And just because, That's why we can't do a Saturday check date. We can't do a Sunday check date. We can't do a Christmas Day check date because it is not available. The employee cannot go to the bank and withdraw the funds. That's really what the base of a constructive receipt is per the IRS.
Mariko, just talking through a few more scenarios here. What if I process my final payroll of 2021 for, maybe I'm processing on December 20th for a December 24th check date, right?
Mm-hmm.
And after that process, that payroll is processed, I don't have another pay date in this year, but I notice I need to either fix something on that payroll, pay somebody a little bit more, make a reimbursement, pay out a bonus, something like, do an additional check. And I want that check date to also be in 2021, even though I don't have any other payrolls scheduled in 2021. What needs to happen in that situation?
That is a great situation. It happens a lot more than you think it will, because something happens. You terminate an employee leaves, or as Manon saying, you realize you need to owe more people, or you decide to do a bonus at the end of the year, something like that. You're going to let us know. We're going to set up an additional payroll run because we need it to make sure it's dated in 2021. It needs to be on the 2021 W-2s, especially if it's that for that year. If it's something that, especially like terminated employees, I would highly recommend we do that because you do not want to have a terminated employee paid in the next year and then have a W-2 at the end of the year for that one final paycheck. So let us know. We'll set up an additional payroll run. A lot of the times when it's in between that time and you only have a few days left in the year, we'll set one up and mark it as like the pay date of 12/31. You can run a manual check then and hand the check to the employee, right? An actual check. Direct deposit could potentially be there if there's enough time, but I can't guarantee that. And then on that 12/21, we're able to then run everything through, and we leave it open just in case you have another one. Because I get it, every year we hear, oh, I'm good, I don't have any more. And then the next day, you have an employee, you find out you needed to pay somebody more, something happened. So there's always something you can do. Just give us a call and let us talk you through each situation, because each situation is going to be unique and it's not always the same solution. So just be in communication with us, call us, let us know what you need to do and why you need to do it, and we'll figure out the best solution for you.
Perfect. And also the system isn't going to let you do a voided check across that year marker as well. So again, if that,
very smart.
It's very smart. It's not going to let you do something that's going to put you in a sticky situation for your taxes. So if the system is not letting you do something that you think it should, there's probably a reason for it. And instead of just stewing or trying to figure it out, go ahead and give us a call and let's work through that with you together. That's what we're here for. And I don't see any questions about this slide, so this constructive receipt. So we're going to go ahead and keep moving into our exciting timeline.
All right, here's our important dates. So important dates for basically from now until the end of the year. So we're putting out these due dates for you. And the reason we do these is we really want you to be successful. We saw huge success last year. I saw, in the difference in the years before and how we pushed a lot of this. And we did a lot of notifications, y'all, to be like, hey, if you can get it to us earlier, we're all going to be more successful. So I want to keep that up. So next Friday is November 12th. And these are the kind of things that we would like to be notified so we can prepare your environment. Are you going to be doing a bonus? You might not know the exact date that you want to do this bonus on, or if they're going to be direct deposit, or if they're going to be checks. You might be going back and forth on that, but we really want to know that you want it done. If you know the details, awesome. Let us know, even if it's, hey, I know I want to do this. I don't have all the specifics, but I just want it on your radar. Let us know, okay? Adjustments could be adjustments to pay. You find out that you've got a check out there that the employee someone didn't cash, you can't figure it out. It's just sitting there. What do? You need to do something with it. That's an adjustment. Again, that situation can be very unique. So call us. Other adjustment types could be fringe benefits. The most common one I see at this time every year is like personal use of company auto, that kind of thing, or use of personal what is it called? Personal vehicle for company purposes, those kind of things. Some of you are still doing that. There's different fringe benefits out there. Melissa and our team here at Auto Paychecks did the WRPA, did I say that right? The conference a couple of weeks ago and talked a lot about fringe benefits. So if you've got something like that we need to do an adjustment on, needs to be on the W-2, let us know. If you're unsure, give us a call and let's talk it through and we'll figure out if you have it or not. Third-party sick pay. So an employee went on disability because they got sick, got hurt, something like that. Does that third-party sick pay, is it coming from you? Is it coming from a third party? There's, again, each situation is always a little different. So it's hard to say this is exactly what you need to do. So call us about those. You might have those. 2% shareholder insurance, that's a big one that we saw last year. More and more people are switching to an S corporation. So if you were like, what is this? I have no idea. This might not apply. But if you are an S Corp or you have recently switched to an S Corp, and if you are unsure, contact your accountant. 2% shareholder insurance is something that needs to be applied to the owner's W-2s. And so check with your accountant. Basically, the company can pay for your health insurance as an owner, and that then needs to be applied to your W-2 and taxed appropriately. So that's something that we can very easily do. We get them all the time for you guys. I know we get them, and we usually just put them as a lump sum at the end of the year. Please let us know. And I want you thinking about this. I know it's not the end of the year yet, but thinking about it, because if you are unsure and you suddenly have to do this, you need time to gather that information. And we need to be able to then set it up in your system so that it does it all correctly. Employer portion of health insurance code DD. So this is something that is required for those of you who have more than 250 W-2s. And that's last year, if you had 250 or more, you're going to need to apply the code DD and what that amount is on the W-2s. And again, if you're like, what is that? Chances are you don't have it. Don't worry, we are looking at the total number of W-2s everyone had last year, and we will contact you if you suddenly changed and you need to do this. You can certainly choose to. Now, just so you guys know that 250 mark is required. 250 or more, you're required to do it. Under 250, you can choose to. What I hear from a lot of you is, why would I do it if I'm not required? Totally. Some of you are doing it anyway. And then the thing is, once you do it, you should keep doing it for consistency. So let us know if you have that. We'll make sure that's on there. If you're unsure, again, give us a call and let's talk through it together and see if it's something that you need to, are required to do, or something you can choose to do. And again, 1099 reporting. So Manon had started this conversation off and said, we're going to be ordering these forms. We are going to order as many as we need to. So please let us know if you'd like us to process those 1099 reporting and filings for you. Just know that if your accountant is already doing it, we will not do it too, okay? So don't have, because we can't double file, and we can't file one 1099 and your accountant file the other 10. You just one or the other. And that's if you're paying 1099 non-employees, which are contractors and things like that, people who are not corporations. We can definitely record it in our system. We can also pay it throughout the year if that's something you want. But if you want that, please let us know by Friday, because we're ordering forms. And like Manon said, if we get to the end of the day, and I've definitely had it over the last 4 years, of 12:31, we got someone calling saying we need you to do our 1099s, and we will absolutely be able to do that if we can. Like, we're going to want to help you, but if we're out of forms, we can't do it. So please let us know if you want us to do that. Otherwise, you'll have to find additional or alternative options for your 1099 reporting and filing. And notifications of rate and frequency changes. So these are coming into your box. I just got one yesterday from a client. So the states are going to be sending out, and the IRS will be sending out any rate changes. So think your unemployment taxes, if your rate's changing, most likely it is, and frequency changes. How often does the government want you to pay their taxes? So those will be coming to you in the mail. I think we've got an example of what that looks like here in a little bit. But just when you get them, send them in. And if you're unsure, just send them in. We got that info@autopaychecks.com email. You can drop it off to us. You can fax us if you still have a fax machine. We still have one too. And I'd rather see it and us say, nope, this isn't it, than you guys not saying or thinking, oh, it's taken care of, because we don't receive those for you. Those come to you directly. And if we don't receive them come January, we have to go and take the time and we go in and we go find it. It takes our time. There is a $25 charge. If we don't receive this, we have to go in and find it and update it for you. So just save yourself $25 and send that in to us for any estates. And if you have a frequency change. Okay. Manon, anything else on that?
Nope, and no questions
Right.
came in.
Cool. So the next dates to be aware of, 12/3, so that's December 3rd, year-end checklist is due. So the year-end checklist is in your year-end newsletter. So I know Manon is, you can very well send that back out to you, or we can find it in your email if we need to. It looks like this. So this year-end checklist, this is really a tool that you can use to be successful. So everything on this list might not apply to you. If you go through and you're looking in here and go, group term life, we don't have group term life. Okay, that's great. You don't need to, you don't have to have it. It's just, if you do we need to do adjustments? You know, and so look through this. If it applies to you, or if you're unsure, give us a call. And if you send these back, it could potentially prompt a conversation so that we can help you with an adjustment. We can help you add something. They're 2% shareholders, kind of like all these things we've been talking about, all in one place, because sometimes payroll's forgotten. We don't really think about it because we don't want to think about it, right? And that's why you have us. At the same time, we don't know everything that's going on in your company. So this is just a really good, at a point, you know, look through it all, see if any of this applies. If you're unsure, contact your accountant or contact us. We can certainly do our best. And this, when you send it in, again, through email or dropping it off, we'll go through it. We do look at each and every single one of them. And if it prompts another conversation, we'll make sure we call you and get that done. Again, we want you to be successful. Do you have to do this? I'm not going to come and like call you and say, did you send this in? But I want you to look at it because I want you to be successful. I don't want you to be stressed. I don't want you to be that stressed person that calls on December 31st, like, oh no, I didn't do this. Because I really would like you to enjoy your New Year. So fill this out, send it in, sign it, send it in. And who knows, we might randomly pull something for a drawing and give you guys a little gift if you win. I don't know, or maybe I will be doing that. I don't know if that was approved.
One thing I do want to draw attention to is our blackout period. This doesn't mean that we're not answering the phones and we're not available. It just means that we are starting to print W-2s, starting to file quarterlies and year-end reports. So any changes that need any amendments to 2021, those either have to happen before January 5th or wait until after January 31st. Just want everybody to be aware of that.
Yes, very good. Yeah, we will absolutely handle any corrections that need to be or changes, but we have to get 2021 done first. That is because those are some deadlines, right? So other deadlines, end of the year. So ACA, we're going to talk about you clients who are doing the Affordable Care Act. You either have to comply because you have over 50 full-time equivalent employees in 2020 or prior, or you are self-funded or partially self-funded for your health insurance. If none of that made sense, this might not be applied to you, okay? Or if you want to question it, talk to your health insurance, see if it is. For those of you who are on the basic level of our ACA service and our regular level, a basic level, you're doing those overrides manually. So you're going in and doing those manually. You know who you are. Make sure you get those completed and submitted and approved by the 31st. As well as those of you who are using our higher level and the system is creating those for you, you still need to go through, review each and every one of them and make sure they are correct. And then please have those approved and submitted by the 31st as well. And again, that 1099 independent contractor information is due, by the end of, we can't process anything later than that. And that same date, 12/31, is the final date for adjustment to payroll, taxable fringe benefits, things like that, because it all needs to be dated in 2021. And after 12/31/2021, there are no more days in 2021. So So hopefully those all work. Please, again, don't wait until the 31st to look at any of this. Save yourself.
Right. And one more quick thing on ACA, we will be sending out additional instruction and videos to those of you that it applies to. You know, we're keeping an eye on that 50 full-time equivalent employees, whether you have 50 full-time employees or enough part-time people that adds up to a full-time equivalent. We run reports and we try to keep an eye on that for all of you to help you stay in compliance. So we will, you know, we're going to try to contact you, but it doesn't hurt for you to take a look at that yourself and know if you're getting close to that 50-person mark. But yeah, like I said, additional instruction will be going directly to those that this applies to. And so it's based on a look back period. So in 2021, if you got really close or getting close to that 50 full-time equivalent mark, then we'll be contacting you at the beginning of next year just to make sure that you're aware of that and that we can offer the benefit services and this filing service for you if that starts to apply. And we did get one question. Is there a report you can run to see if you paid out gifts or prizes for the year? And that would be just like a earning code that you would be able to check, and there are multiple reports that you can see it on.
There's a payroll register export. The payroll register export you can run on date range. It's a large report, so give it a little bit of time when you refresh. But that one would show you everything you paid, and it has it all in all columns, and the bottom has totals. It's pretty cool. And you can look at earning codes. Yep. So I would
export. Yeah.
I would go there because it's got everything. Probably more than what you wanted to see, but you'll find it there, which is pretty cool. It's my go-to report.
Okay, great. And Stephanie said that she will make sure that you have access to that report, Casey. Right. This is just an example of your frequency change. So if you get something in the mail that looks like this is what we're looking for from you. Again, if you don't get them to us, we're still going to make sure that you're in compliance for next year, and we will go and track this down at the state website. But that additional effort and monitoring, it does result in an additional fee for you. So just if you get this notice, send it to us. And just like Marika said earlier, the more information you get us, the better. So if you think we might need it, go ahead and send it along. It's better for us to have more information rather than less. Yeah. We did get another question in. This is from Kyle. Will we have access to the HFWA form once this PowerPoint gets sent out? And I will say yes. There's a quick link to that form. I think it's on the third slide of this PowerPoint, so you'll be able to open up that link and download the form and fill it out and get it back to us. It's also in the year-end newsletter, so anytime you get an email from us from now to December 31st, there's going to be a link to the year-end newsletter. If you open that up, then there is a link in that link to the
link in the link.
Yes.
Yep. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that, the HIFWA as well, here in a little bit, a couple of slides. So a couple more dates just to be aware of, because it's really important that, I know we've actually said this a couple of times, it's important to hear it again. 1/6 is, so January, we're moving on into January. That 6 is that day is the last day you can go in, make changes to employees' names, socials, addresses. So that's something that is part of your year-end checklist, is going through, have you verified that these items are correct? Have you verified the employees' addresses are in there? If somebody moved, terminated employees, do you have an updated address? Are your socials, have you looked at their social security card, and is it the same in iSolved? Those things set you up for success because it means the W-2s are going to be correct. So that's the final day to make updates, because then we start printing. And once it's printed, it's to go back and change it, depending on the situation, but most of the time it's going to be, we will get changes done for you. But remember when Manon said we have a blackout period, changes don't start until February. So start now, look through your employees, double check these things, because it really will save you. And And because that's basically like you see on the 7th, we are going to start printing 1095Bs and 1095C, 1099s, and W-2s. So that's when we start printing everything. I mean, gosh, it just comes in it. Man, we are a well-oiled machine with that. So please, once it's starting, it's done. And then, like we said, we're going to make sure it's the 20th or the 21st of January. I think, 21st of January, that's the date you will definitely have your packet of W-2s in your hand to send out to your employees. And they just have to be to employees by the 31st of the year. So we need to get to them to you sooner. And that same day is when the portal is open for electronic tax forms. So those people who elected electronic tax forms and not paper, they'll be able to see that in their employee self-service. Okay. Let's see, what else do we got? Starting January 25th, we are starting to submit W-2s and ACAs forms to government agencies. So, and then that final date on this page is February 7th. We are amending. That's when we start amending W-2s, amending quarterly reports, making those changes that you need. We will obviously be in very good communication with you. If you find out that you do need something changed, we'll make sure we let you know and we'll keep you updated. And when we start to work on those changes in February, you will know and you'll know when those are done. Okay. And just a reminder, these really haven't changed in the recent years, but IRS and Social Security Administration deadlines. W-2s are due to employees or postmarked by January 31st, 2022. Same with ACA forms, those 1095 B and C forms. And quarterly filings. Quarterly filings are due by the 31st. So like I said, we are printing W-2s, 1095, 1099s for you, getting them to you. You are responsible to get them out by the 31st. And we are your tax reporting agent. We are doing that. We're filing, we're paying, we're doing everything by the 31st. Okay. Oh, COVID. So this COVID, we still have to report on W-2s for the COVID pay that you have paid out to employees. This includes your FFCRA. So that first group of, that first set of stuff that we had, the Family First Coronavirus Response Act. It also includes ARPA, the American Rescue Plan Act. So that was all COVID related pay. So those are going to be added. If you paid them through our system, they're going to be added and reported correctly on the W-2 per the IRS guidelines. If you're unsure, and if you suddenly went, wait, what? We had COVID pay. If you suddenly are just, coming to the party with that and you are unsure, give us a call. Let's talk you through that because we definitely want to make sure that's correct this year. Most of you have already been doing it and been jumping on that bandwagon. So just want to let you know we've got it under control and it will be on W-2s and reported correctly. Okay. Here's that HIFA we were talking about. So Healthy Family Workplace Act in Colorado, it became law last year in 2021 for all employees or employers with 16 or more employees had to comply last year. That's 1 hour for every 30 hours worked, up to 48 hours in the year of sick time. Can also carry over 48 hours. So that's one way. You can also do a lump sum and just hand out 48 hours to employees right off the bat when they're at the beginning of the year or when they're hired. So for those of you who have already been doing that, this is old news, right? For those of you who had 15 or fewer employees, you did not have to comply until January 2022. And if you can believe it, it's going to be January 2022 here very shortly. So if you're a business in Colorado, you have to comply with this. Our system is set up to be able to do this, but we need to know that you want to track it in system. We're not going to just automatically do it. So we need to know there's a form, as Kyle had questioned earlier. Yes, there is a form. So we'll make sure we get that to you. If you can't find your year-end newsletter or whatever, it'll be on this slide. Also, just give us a call and we'll send it to you. When we need to know how you want it to work. I do know there are some similar sick plans in other states. New Mexico, for instance, has a very similar plan, not exactly the same, similar. So it is part of your responsibility as a business owner in your state to know these items. So if you're unsure, go ahead to your state website and see if they have something like this and let us know, and we'll be able to most likely set something up to track. Did I get that all there?
Yes, and just want to point out, there hasn't been any question about it, but this isn't an additional fee to track this. This is just part of your basic payroll and HR. So we don't worry about that piece of it. Let's just help you get set up and keep you in compliance with this new Colorado requirement.
All right. I think we did it, Manon. Did we do it?
I think we did. I think
we did.
Everything.
Remember, we had fun. We got to make year-end fun.
Yes. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. Again, there was a survey that was sent out yesterday. If you would please take a few minutes to fill that out. The final question on that is, everything that we talked about today, do you have more questions about any of these items? Let us know and we will contact you. So we're just trying to help you stay on top of everything and be ready with no major surprises going into the new year. I do have one question. Is this accrued on a calendar or anniversary basis? The HIFWA is accrued and carried over on an annual basis, so January to December. If your other accrual plans are based on anniversary, that's fine. We can set up multiple plans based on multiple dates that they're looking at. So the system does have a lot of flexibility. If you have a current PTO plan, we can help you take a look at that, tell you what the requirements are for the HIFWA, and then you can decide if you want to adjust your current plan or just create a brand new plan. One thing that tends to be really unique about HIFWA versus your current PTO is that HIFWA is available immediately to employees. So as soon as they accrue an hour, they can use an hour. There is no probationary 90-day wait period to when that needs to be made available to your employees. So if you do have any questions, please contact us. You know our number. You can always send an email, info@autopaychecks.com. Thank you for joining us. And we will continue to have webinars that dive deeper into training on all of these items before the end of the year. So we will see you again soon.
Thank you, everybody. Bye.
So, Joni, I do have a question from you. If you're still on, HIFWA does apply to everybody in 2022, whether, if you have at least one employee in the state of Colorado, that one employee needs to receive the benefits of HIFWA. You're welcome.